David Hutchinson will join us in just a little bit. It's InGoal Radio, the podcast presented by the Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com. Darren Millard, along with my good friend Kevin Woodley, who's fresh off the USA Hockey Goaltending Symposium in Boston. How was it?
It was excellent. I don't know if I would use the word fresh to describe me right now, unless... Yeah, maybe a little fresh on it. It was a bit of a journey home. We had planes, trains, and automobiles, me and Hutch. I'm not sure who was John Candy in that situation, but we didn't have any of those Art and Pillows moments. We did, however, make it home in a 24-hour journey. And you know what, Darren? It was worth it. The whole thing was worth it. Steve Thompson and his crew at USA Hockey put on a fantastic symposium. It was an open-door policy. There were goalie coaches from Sweden, including Thomas Magnusson, former director of goaltending, now retired, but still does some events like this, who did a really nice presentation on, are we falling behind as goalies and what can we do to fix it? There were goalie coaches.
Hold on, what do you mean by that?
Well, the shooters outpaced us.
Oh.
The shooters, finally caught up and passed goaltending. And rather than just saying, okay, the game has changed, the scoring chances are up, numbers are down because of that, well, certainly a factor. But do we need to rethink how we're training to keep up with the adjustments these shooters have made? It was a great presentation. There were other coaches, many of whom we hope to have on the podcast really shortly, from Sweden, from Austria, from Slovakia. Rick Walmsley was there, obviously involved with the Hockey Canada program. Steve Thompson had spent some time at Hockey Canada's program watching their gold presentations. There were presentations from gold level coaching candidates throughout the weekend. There was on-ice demonstrations featuring Jacob Fowler and Mike Ayers, who were obviously together at Boston College. Gwyneth Phillips and Katie Burt did a fantastic one on post play. We had Mike Buckley doing a presentation, Lenny Mosca from the Boston Fleet. We had Aaron Frankel up on stage with Jim Craig. Jeremy Swayman did a presentation on stage on how they do video with his goalie coach from Maine, Alfie Michaud. Dave Rogalski, who was with the New Jersey Devils up until this year and is a fantastic goaltending coach based out of Minnesota, works with Jake Ottinger in the off seasons. He did a presentation. Just incredible amounts of content, incredible amounts of networking with great people. And the best news is, because of our partnership with USA Hockey, we're going to be able to share most of that content. Maybe not right out of the gate. We're going to spread it out over time. And of course, they're going to get to share it with their coaches as well to make sure that, and this is important, great event. And if you were there in person, the value of being there in person, it's invaluable. The people you meet, the relationships you build, seeing it firsthand, being able to ask questions. But at the end of the day, if you hope to do what USA Hockey is hoping to do with their 51 and 30 program and continue to climb the ranks of minutes played in the National Hockey League and the PWHL, then you need to keep growing and getting better. And you can't do that if only 150 people in the room get to see the presentation. So one of the reasons we were there was to make sure we create content from it, not just for InGoal magazine, but that can be shared with coaches around the United States that are in the USA Hockey program, so that growth goes beyond those in attendance. So just another element of it that I applaud. Not just about building a great conference, which they did, but about making sure that information gets to more people. And that's why, one of many reasons why, the one piece of news, I would say, that came out of that weekend, as part of a presentation from Steve Thompson on the state of the game, and a lot of the attention on American goaltending would go to the championships won. Obviously, sweeping the Olympics, men's, women's, Paralympics, gold medals all around. Coming off their first world championship win 2 seasons ago in 93 years. The big takeaway was when there was a slide that showed, for the first time in the history of the National Hockey League, there were more minutes played by an American goaltender or by American goaltenders than there were by Canadians. For the first time in the history of the National Hockey League, Canadian goalies
USA goaltenders led in minutes played?
They and almost to the point, because this is who they had to pass, for this first time ever, Canadian goaltenders did not. So the work that they're doing is paying dividends, and I love that the work is not just hey, were there some technical discussions? Mike Buckley's presentation on depth was exceptional, and John Muse was a part of that presentation as well. He's coaching now in China. had a great pro career, great college career, now coaching in China. We hope to have him on the podcast soon. Got to meet him, really enjoyed that conversation. But the sort of, it's not just about the technical presentations, the how to play position, the tactical stuff that was a part of it. There was a presentation on using smaller nets in 10U hockey, intermediate nets. And again, not just why it's better for goalies and shooters and building better players all around, but they tied it into health and hip health with some real science behind it in terms of measuring the impact of these small goalies having to chase behind these big nets and the damage it was potentially doing to their hips in formative years. Study on that. So, ways to grow the game, ways to get more kids playing goal. Participation numbers are up from a percentage of players that are actual goalies in USA Hockey, but it's still not where it needs to be for them to have 2 goalies on every team. That's the goal. Their goal is to have 2 goalies on every team. Their goal is to have a volunteer goalie coach available for every team. They've got over 3,000 people in the United States have taken the bronze level certification to give them some education when they're working with goalies, so they're not just going in there blind. But that's still well short, as they tell you, of 1 coach for every team. So those are the goals they strive towards. And because they've based their goals in grassroots, I think the growth that you'll see at the higher levels will continue to sort of happen and evolve organically. I mean, you don't create more NHL goalies by trying to create more NHL goalies. You create more great NHL goalies by attacking the problem when they're younger and making sure you give them all the resources, and you'll end up with the end result. It'll just come naturally. So I love everything about the approach. It's really cool to see.
We've all heard the reaction of a parent when their child comes to them and says, I want to be a goaltender. And some of it is just chuckling, some of it's serious. What do you think the biggest fear of a parent is when that moment happens? Is it cost? It
might be financial. It might be financial. And we've created that stigma around that, how expensive it is. I mean, let's be honest though, like the game's not cheap for anyone. Right. Do we need to find a way to make it more accessible? Do we need to find a way to make it less exclusive at younger ages? Like, so that you aren't just a goalie at a certain age. You're doing other things. And not just, and I get it, because there are some kids that's all they want to do. And you don't want it to be at their expense, but exposing more athletes to the position. Yep. I can't remember who we had on recently that didn't want to be a goalie originally, but ended up getting to try it and absolutely fell in love with it, and now is playing at an elite level. And it's just escaping me. We do so many interviews on this podcast that I can't remember who it was, but how many of those are we missing when we when we have a kid or who them and their parents have decided at the age of 8 that's all they're doing, so nobody else gets the chance to try it, right? Like, how many athletes are you missing out because of that? So again, not pretending to have the answers. And I think the beautiful thing is USA Hockey doesn't pretend to have all the answers either, but they're constantly looking for solutions, and they're looking for evidence-based solutions, to answer some of these questions and solve some of these problems. Half ice hockey, smaller nets, what's good, not just for the goaltenders, but for the game overall. How do we develop practice plans that are going to make sure we're not creating goalie school goalies, for lack of a better term, that we're creating thinkers, people that, understand the game and can play the position better because they understand the patterns connected to the game. And sometimes that means playing out and not just being a goalie. How many times have we heard that over the years? From Braden Holt beyond, seeing the value in not being a goalie at too young an age. They try and quantify that a little bit and sort of push away from premature specialization.
Something that jumped out at me when you were talking about what happened in Boston was the different nations that were represented at the symposium. That's pretty cool. Good on USA Hockey for allowing some of these people to be involved in it too.
Rising tide floats all boats, I think, is paraphrasing, but sort of the thought process there. Not trying to keep any great hidden secrets. They've been open about talking to other nations about their, a lot of what they do is based on how other countries have modeled their programs, how they've had a dedicated person like Steve Thompson at the top of it, and what that looks like and what best practices. And, we saw in the bronze medal presentation, they talk about Norway and the success of Norway on the sort of Olympic stage in winter sports, and how that's tied to kids, not being result focused at a young age. They don't keep score at a certain age, and they try all kinds of different things. Like, so just that, again, open book sharing philosophy. I think it's to be applauded, and not just because we were there and we got to be a part of it and see what it was all about, but you get to know the people and see the passion behind it. And it's infectious, and it's so when it's that infectious, it's really easy to see why it has success, because if they're getting you to buy in like that, they're getting everybody involved to buy in at a certain level.
Look forward to the content that will
I almost forgot. You know what the best part was of Boston? I went to a Red Sox game with Hutch.
Oh, had you ever been to Fenway?
31 years ago, my friend. I was there for one night during my trip, which we've talked about on this podcast before, to every major league ballpark that took me from statistics and computer science to sports writing. My stop in Boston, there was only one night where I could get a ticket. It was 8 rows behind the plate. I'm looking at the back of my office and the ticket stub is framed because on that night I was there 31 years ago, the Red Sox clinched the AL East, and it was an absolute party afterwards. So I had 2 memories from that night. One, watching Boston Red Sox players up on the horses that the police were riding, like so up on horseback of police officers after the game as part of the celebration. The post game might have been a blur after that. Somehow the next day I ended up in Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame. But the other memory that I had, and I clung to it for 31 years, was that the hot dog I had outside of Fenway before entering the gates, outside of Fenway pre-game that night, was the best hot dog I'd ever had in my life. The Italian sausage is the bread, is the meat, but they did something with the peppers, like the fried peppers and onions, that just best I've ever had. And you know how you build something up in your mind? 31 years, Darren. Whenever anybody started talking about food and hot dogs and ballparks, best dog I ever had. I drove to every major league ballpark that summer and lived in my car. And that was hands down like the memorable best hot dog I'd ever had. It's not Chien Chaud, it's not Montreal Belle, it's different type, like an actual ballpark dog. 31 years later, same vendors, not the same people, but the same company, same dog, same peppers. And every bit as good as I remembered it. So it actually lived up to this grandiose expectation I built up in my mind. But Hutch confirmed, unsolicited, without me revisiting the story, just where this hot dog ranked on his list. Best hot dog he'd ever eaten. So it's now unanimous among InGoal circles. You're going to have to go try it for yourself one of these days. Best hot dog outside Fenway. We had a great day. Red Sox lost, unfortunately. No pennants clinched on this visit. It happened to be the hottest team in baseball heading into our visit. But fantastic time. It was a really great way to cap off a really good 5 days in Boston.
That trip that you did 3 decades ago, you did it all in one summer?
All in one summer. I basically lived in a 1985 Volkswagen GTI.
Did you do it by yourself?
Supposed to have a buddy go. He bailed on me the week before, and I wasn't bailing myself, so I went by myself. Yeah, and I basically lived in my car or sleeping on couches with former teammates who had gone on to play in college and other junior colleges and Div 2 colleges around the States. But I think I got a hotel room on average once a week on the trip. And I had a little stove in the back of my car and everything. Started it at the Field of Dreams in Iowa. Actually went to the field where the Field of Dreams was filmed in Iowa. And of course, W.P. Kinsella, the author, is from White Rock. And I've had, so my hometown here since grade 7. And I'd had the opportunity to meet him as well. So started it there. Met a guy at Wrigley, covered the Cubs. Never got his name, but he covered the Cubs for a living and actually applied for journalism school from a frat house couch that I was sleeping on that week in the suburbs of Chicago, and never looked back.
Good for you. There's a I don't know whether a book there, but certainly some kind of publishable content about that entire summer.
Yeah, some of it's not publishable, Darren, but yeah.
No, it's publishable.
I was young.
Maybe different audiences, not for all audiences.
Let me just say that there are a lot of things I did on that trip, and not from a nefarious standpoint. I just mean from a naive standpoint that I don't think you could do anymore. I literally would just pull over to the side of the road in random places or truck stops and just sleep just put the seat back, pull the sleeping bag over top of myself, lock the doors back when they were physical locks, and sleep. I don't think you could do what I did now 32 years later, but it was an epic summer.
And now we have so many luxuries, like InGoal Radio, the podcast, like InGoal Magazine, like the Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com, which presents our gear segment.
I talk about luxuries. The luxurious new Warrior Alpha Surge, which we talked about so long ago, is in store. A lot of people have been waiting for this one for a long time. And we've done the full review on it at ingoalmag.com. You can check it out. But now the product is really starting to show up in store and people are starting to get excited about the features. So make sure you go back and revisit it. You can find it online at the Hockey Shop as well. They've got the Alpha Surge, but they've also got the second price point. It's the Alpha Surge. It's the it's the Warrior Alpha S50. That is the second price point line. Now it's supposed to be a little more flexible. We know how stiff the Surge pad was, especially from the knee up through the thigh, double reinforcement. This one's, it's still pretty stiff in store, but you can see how it will soften and take a break. So I wanted Cam to walk us through sort of what features carry over from the Alpha Surge to the Alpha S50 line as that one hits the stores, and a lot of goalies excited about the price point, the exceptional sliding, the performance, unique features. I'm going to let Cam describe them all in this week's gear segment.
We did the Alpha Surge Pro. We waited a long time for them to come into stores, but they're here now. And this is not Pro. This is S50. This is Surge S50. So we've got a second price point from Warrior.
We do.
The wait is over.
Yes.
Because from what I've seen, there's a lot of pro level features in this pad. And I know that's been a theme throughout the different brands. Second price point is as good as Pro was just a few years ago.
Very much correct.
But this one really carries down a lot of the features. So because Alpha itself was somewhat new and because we waited a little bit longer than expected to have it in store and for sale, and they have the Pro here as well. Let's go through it. Let's sort of go through the features like we're doing it for the first time here, Cam. Even though it's the second price point, a lot of the features are the same. You want to start with the pad?
Yeah, well, let's start off with aesthetics because we're looking at it right now.
Oh, because these are these Hockey Shop Source for Sports exclusive aesthetics? Exclusive.
So you see that black and gold colorway, nice and slick.
I do like the black and gold. I also like the fact that the in between the double T, the nylon is gold as well. It's a nice touch, Cam. Almost like you know what you're doing as a designer.
It wasn't just me. There was some, more influence from
a good leader
source.
A good leader passes credit on. Good job, Cam.
Navy and white as well. Continuing on from some of the we had
again with the white accents in between the T.
Slick.
Like it.
All right. Enough about colors though. Spec wise.
Spec. Is this source exclusive spec or we're into the general?
Now we're into the general.
Okay. We'll start with the pads.
We can start with the pads.
All right. Okay.
So we'll start with the most striking feature as carried over from G7.
Right. And of course, easily removed.
Classic slide plate. She's back.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. We'll see with the Surge, but on the Alpha Pro, the pad slides so much without it that like a lot of our testers have basically taken it off and they still feel like it's the fastest pad they've slid.
Why would that be, Kevin? Because of how hard the actual contact surface is
and
how
stiff, and it's also built in.
Correct.
For support.
Exactly. So a lot of extra support when you're getting into that pad. Very, very stiff actual landing surface to the pad itself as well.
You can see how thinned out it is. Is it attached the same way as the Pro, or is it attached differently on this model?
Into the nitty-gritty of the inside, we can start to see some of the interesting features.
See, you can see that, but our folks can't see it.
Oh, let us open it up here first. Look at actually being bracketed in.
Okay, so it is bracketed in on this one as well. Obviously, we knew that about the Pro pad.
Correct.
Second price.
The Alpha Surge, and now we're looking at that S50.
S50.
Yes. This is an intermediate pad, by the way, for everyone that's looking and says, why does that look so small?
You've got it in senior sizes and intermediate. Okay,
and they're going to be the same pad features as well.
See how fixed that is? Really good support when you're in the butterfly.
Same idea with that knee.
Really good balance.
So
it's also fixed in with brackles.
That's correct. And what's that?
That's a removable knee stack.
Something that's replaceable and also available. A little bit thicker.
Will be available. You don't have it in yet, but it's coming. Correct. So folks, if you're wondering, because it was removable, one of the ideas that they had was, hey, we can also build replacement pieces that are thicker. What does that do for us as goalies? Take stress off our hips, take stress off our knees, take stress off our ankles, allows us to be taller in the butterfly and have a wider butterfly. it can really prevent some wear and tear for young goalies. For those of us on the older side of the scale, it's a really good sort of, well, honestly, cheat.
So we're going to do a refresher on this when these are actually in. So keep an eye
I
out.
love this feature. May have called it out once or twice on the Alpha Surge highest level pack.
Coming. Not in yet, but coming.
Okay.
So back in, we already talked about how this is a nice bracket system. So very, very stiff.
Very rich.
Giving you that ultimate support when you're down to that butterfly.
And boy, does she slide.
And yes, she slides very well. And I got to do that properly because it's going to bug me. There we go.
All
right. Removable outer knee flap. So that continues on with Warriors features from before. We look at the actual back calf strapping system itself. But a lot of adjustability here.
So this is like a professor strap. Again, easily removable. Can attach it here. And of course, because this is something Warriors really good at, the Velcro attaches here. So if you want to do your knee strap over top, they've got double-sided Velcro on all their straps, so you're not searching for an area. You can still you can double do the Velcro. So
double do the Velcro.
Double do the Velcro, double-sided. That works that way.
Just onto the boot here.
Super flat.
Flat, 100% 90-degree boot.
Yeah.
You still see their original style in terms of for their elastic straps for the toe tie and the boot.
Super easy to add in.
Remove, keep, you do you. You have options here. I do find the boot strap makes the pad a little bit tight and kind of torques a little bit weird, so that's an easy one to remove. The toe and the boot are the exact same length, so you already have a built-in replacement for your toe if you do wish to run that toe strap.
And
or
you can just do laces if you want. One of the things that the flat boot does that we're seeing in testing, because it's not angled, your skate tends to sit a little behind it. And as it sits behind it, it just creates this giant space for attaching to the post in RVH. Like, we've had a number of testers comment on how easy it is to hit that spot because there's sort of almost like an offset there. So that's been
part of that boot design, that catch wedge. You now see that boot flex as you're coming into that post. Also, as you're pushing in, that's helping you with that power out as well.
We've had a lot of good feedback from, I did a beer league goalie camp just like a week ago and brought out the Alpha Surge, and guys loved it for that reason. They were not hitting their toe locks, us old guys, as effectively until they put on this pad. There we go. We done with the pad?
I think we're done with the pad.
Wait, I don't think we're done with the pad, Cam.
No, we're not done with the pad.
Because there is a difference. Obviously, you're getting, this is a lower price point product.
Yes.
One of the things we talked about with the Surge pad, the top end Surge pad, is the hyper comp on the front and on the back, really stiff, like one of the stiffer pads out there, but also like super active rebounds.
Correct.
No hyper comp. You're obviously sacrificing materials in the second.
Hey, there's got to be a difference somewhere.
Right.
Yes.
And so
supposed to be a little bit more flexy.
She's still pretty stiff, but without the hyper comp in there, it will soften up. You can put a flex in it more than you would be able to or easier than you would be able to in the one that has the double layer of hyper comp, the Surge. The S50, again, supposed to be a little more flexible than it kind of feels out of the box, but it will take flex over time compared to the highest level. Now we're into the gloves.
Hey, they're back.
They're back.
They're back.
And they look
Warrior
good.
gloves are back.
There's so many features in here. I think folks, a lot of the features are the same that carry over. You can go back to our original review to sort of the way the palm's put together, but there's two different gloves.
Your original review, we actually never did the gloves because we didn't have it.
Right. Okay, so now let's get into it then.
So what we have here is the 90
and that's
option.
So there's two options, 90, 75 and 90. 90 is going to be stock with your S50s.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the smattering is
everybody's at you source, your choice.
Source.
Okay.
On these colors specifically. Reason why we went with the 90, just in terms of consistency of closure. One thing is we really, really find that these gloves, they need to go into the oven.
Little bake.
Bake it once. You see it? These are fresh. I literally just pulled them out of the plastic. Yeah, we've got a little bit of that stiffness. It needs a little bit of that heat to help release and wrap around. We will show a glove that's been baked and that difference that it does make. We'll do a little movie magic here in a second. In terms of overall feel-wise, this is going to be similar-ish to that 7.1 that we saw of last year or years past.
G7.
But however, Warrior did approach this as a kind of a new glove rather than take the old glove and then kind of slap a new name on it.
Right.
So the shape has changed a little bit. You do have some more catching surface.
Pockets bigger.
Correct. That nice double T in terms of, it was a 7.1 feature. It's been brought back over. Nice wide open feel. And their updated backhand, which definitely Can't be ignored. And Kevin, what's that? Do you have there? Do you have a little wrist strap that comes with it automatically?
Yeah. Easily removable, but again, the wrist strap, if you're somebody who likes a wrist strap, you can just quickly grab it, wrap it around, and attach it. Again, multiple like double-sided Velcro. So even there, if you find that you put the strap really tight and you want to pull this one over, again, there's a Velcro attachment area. So tons of, I'm not sure there's a product that has more sort of custom fit and feel options.
The ability for you
Warrior.
to dial it in off the shelf definitely is, a Warrior characteristic for sure.
So we've got strapping over the fingers that also can be tightened. But see this nice little neoprene sleeve that really holds the hand in there. We've seen some gloves over time where you can sort of slip out.
Yes.
This just sort of, like I said, neoprene, similar material to what my wetsuits are made of. And let me tell you, they hold everything in. This does this thing.
Non-removable palm in the 90s. 75 has a removable palm.
Even in the second price point?
That's correct.
Wow. Okay.
Again, great overall feel. We went with the 90 just more out of consistency. Feeling good.
Okay, blocker.
With the exclusive colorways, we went with the high curve blocker, which means
Again,
little
two
flatter.
options. There's high curve and mid curve.
with that curve up in the high portion of the blocker, thus high curve. Removable palm on these guys, so we can swap this one out. Push it. In terms of overall feel-wise, if you're familiar with the G7 blocker, just the 7.0, that's what this guy is. That's this evolution. What has changed, more openness to the actual side of the cuff piece to the glove or blocker. That ability to help really present that blocker forward. It is weighted a little bit more at kind of that bottom edge of the blocker, so you do have that natural bit of a forward tip to it. Very, very stiff, very rigid. Excellent pops off these blockers, even into that senior models. These don't have that hypercomp in it. Once again, we need to make that difference in terms of the split of price point. When you go into the Surge, it will have, obviously, that hypercomp, but this is still a very rigid blocker board surface.
Okay, one other thing that I noticed that isn't there, that's on the Alpha Surge top level, is, because I removed it, to be honest, so maybe you chose not to have it in there, but there was an extra piece that attached in here, like a little extra bit of finger
Thumb
protection.
pillow, almost.
Not a pillow, just like a piece of hard HD foam. Easily removed, but not here on these. Honestly, almost all our testers took it out because it just interfered a little too much with the stick anyways.
Covered it. So,
Done. That was a lot. That was a lot. So,
and there's still more.
Yeah, there's just so much to these pads. Again, go check out our review at ingoalmag.com. We went deep into the Alpha Surge line. S50, as Cam said, almost all the same features, a little bit more flex, just not the same material. So you'll be able to sort of walk through that, and we'll get something up on the S50 as it gets into stores more around North America.
And we will separately shoot another video for the mid-curve and 75-degree glove.
Okay. Let's see your movie magic. That's 3 minutes in a skate
That was 3 minutes in the skate.
We didn't even do
Like
the full
I said,
5 because I'm tired of waiting for
You
you.
didn't want to wait. So
Seriously.
have the patience in store, unlike him. Let us bake the glove.
Let me see. Come on. Let me get my hand in there.
It's going to make a huge difference. Really going to imprint your hand.
Oh,
and it's
my
really going to
goodness.
kick. I see.
That's 3 minutes.
That was 3 minutes. I didn't make that up.
It's like a warm loaf of butter.
What?
Shout out to Gary Price.
A warm loaf
Like
of
sticking your
butter.
hand into a warm loaf of butter.
Thanks, Pricer.
That's a hockey, that is a Hockey Hall of Fame line.
On that bombshell.
Folks, if you've got any more questions for Cam about the Alpha Surge S50 or the Alpha Surge, the highest
Surge
price
it.
point,
Yes.
it's in stores now.
Yes.
It was a bit of a wait,
Yes.
but based on our experience and our feedback
waiting
and our
on some things.
testing, it is worth the wait.
Yes.
So if you've got questions now that's in store about what he's got available, give him a call where?
604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790 or check us out at
thehockeyshop.com.
Here's something cool. As you guys were breaking things down, I just got the text about the gear segment that came through on the YouTube channel.
There
The
you go.
notification. So it's all very concise.
We are a smooth operation.
Things going crazy. Would this be their busiest month, or do you think it settles a little bit over at the
No, it's a gong show there right now, folks. So if you've got questions, still ask them, still reach out, send it to their email. You can find all the connections on thehockeyshop.com, or as you Cam said at the end of that segment, he spat out the number, and you can go watch it. And as Darren mentioned, on YouTube, each segment. So you want to see the visuals that are attached to it, go check out our YouTube channel. It's all up there. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out if you've got questions about it, but give them a little time to get back to you. It is madness there. It is their busiest time of the year. It's why their selection runs so deep. It has to. They have to be stocked up and ready for what's to come, and that is people coming in right now, needing gear for the start of the season, less than 2 weeks away, training camps and tryouts starting right now for minor hockey, junior hockey, getting into that season. Obviously way too late for custom orders, but if that's where a place like the Hockey Shop is beautiful. Their selection is so deep that not only will they have your size, chances are they've got some color options, especially when you get into the second price point stuff. We've talked a lot about the different offerings, whether it's Bauer, CCM, or today with Warrior, perfectly in time for the start of the new season. That's the beauty of being a shop as big as the Hockey Shop Source for Sports and having 30,000 or 35,000 square feet plus a warehouse offsite to store extra stuff. They have inventory and selection that will make sure you get the gear you need, the gear that fits your game in time for the start of the season. But to your point, Darren, it is so busy there right now. Have a little grace when you reach out to them. Chances are they're trying to fit 3 or 4 people at the same time while you're on hold.
Let's grow your game with the Visual Edge Pro Reads.
Yeah, we got Eric Comrie back. We're trying to get through. I apologize if people are like, why do we have so much Eric Comrie? And I should never have to apologize for too much Eric Comrie because A, he's just a beautiful dude, just the best person in the world. But B, he explains everything so well. He gets into the minutia. He's a thinker and he's happy to share the thought process. So as we try and get through, now that he's signed with San Jose, we try and get through all his Winnipeg Jets pro reads from the past year. This week, he looks at when to attack an open look off a rush. So, when do you take that step versus sort of settling back and playing the pass options? And it's just, there were several different elements that go into it, including the situation in the game.
What is an open look off the rush?
Like in this case, it's what starts out as a 2-on-1, but I'm kind of giving away a little part of this. There's a trailer.
Okay.
And the trailer ends up being the open look. And so you've still got 3 players attacking now. You still have that initial 2-on-1 that are sort of closer to the net, but that third guy high is wide open in the high slot. And he's just got time to put his head down and bury it. There's no pressure on him, and that's what I mean by an open look. So do you attack it? Or do you sit back because you've got these other guys funneling to the side? And Eric I don't want to give any more away than that, but Eric, what factors matter when you're trying to make that decision about how much ice to attack? How much ice do you take? How much do you attack that open look guy versus sitting back and potentially, worrying about a pass as these other guys funnel to the side of the net? What goes into that decision? And that's what Eric Comrie explains to us in this week's Pro Reads, which of course is presented by Visual Edge. And Pro Reads are all about helping you read the game better. Visual Edge is all about helping you see and process the game better. Every goalie knows the feeling, the nights where the game feels slow, you're tracking pucks cleanly, you're reading plays early, and nothing seems to surprise you. Like Eric Comrie in the video breakdown this week. And the other nights, the ones when you're reacting instead of anticipating, you're just a split second behind everything. Most goalies try to solve that by getting more reps on the ice. Visual Edge takes a different approach by training the visual and cognitive skills that help you process the game faster. Things like tracking through traffic, picking up releases earlier, recognizing patterns, and making quicker decisions under pressure. From your laptop or tablet, you take a personalized assessment to identify where your visual game can improve. Then you get a custom training plan that takes about 15 minutes 3 times a week, plus an open gym mode to get you as many exercises as you wish, as well as an 8-minute warm-up called Game Day Mode to get your eyes and brain locked in for puck drop. Jordan Binnington used that one. It's a key part of the routine for NHL goalies like Binnington, Jeremy Swayman, Joseph Woll, and Cam Talbot, and now you can see what you can uncover in your engine under the hood. Head to visualedge.com and use the code IG Fall 50. That's IGFALL 50 for 50% off your first 3 months. Valid for new customers through the end of August 31st. But if you're already a member at InGoal Magazine, you can check out any pro reads for 20% off for an entire year. So I guess in theory, you could try the first 3 months at 50% and then switch to an InGoal discount at 20%. Either way, you're covered thanks to Visual Edge and us at InGoal Magazine.
More thoughts from the USA Hockey Goaltending Symposium through the eyes of David Hutchison and the parent segment brought to us by Stop It Goaltending You, the app.
Boy, I can tell you there was so much experience at this USA Hockey Goaltending Symposium, and Hutch is going to get into it from a parent perspective, what he saw in this week's segment. But if you want 25 years of NHL goalie coaching experience at your fingertips, if you want to tap into the goalie parenting expertise that helped Joey Daccord reach the NHL, that's what you get with a subscription to Stop It Goaltending You, the app. All the knowledge from Brian Daccord, who's been an NHL goalie coach, scout, and director, as well as all the insights and expertise from his staff at Stop It, which includes a long list of veteran NCAA coaches and guys working in pro. All delivered in easy-to-digest chunks, including 5 short daily primers, weekly style analysis and breakdown videos, and drills you can take on the ice with your team and coach. Plus, you get an InGoal Premium subscription included. So check it out now at the App Store or Google Play and get the best of both worlds with a subscription to the Stop It Goaltending You app and a subscription to InGoal Magazine.
Impressions as a parent off the USA Hockey Goaltending Symposium. Here's David Hutchison.
As you know, of course, by now, Kevin and I spent a weekend in Boston at the USA Hockey Goaltending Symposium, and I left with one overwhelming feeling. Our kids are in good hands. It's a bold statement in a sport that often gives parents plenty of reasons to worry. Hockey certainly has its warts, and goalie parents know them as well as anyone. But after 3 days at the USA Hockey Symposium, surrounded by coaches, researchers, administrators, parents, and goalies, I couldn't shake the feeling that there's a lot of good people doing good work on behalf of our kids. It wasn't one presentation or one conversation that left me feeling that way. It was the culture. As hockey parents, and goalie parents especially, we gather in dark corners of rinks and we complain. A lot. My kid doesn't get enough support. Who are these people running our sport? It's all politics. We've all heard those conversations, and yep, many of us have taken part in them. Last weekend, though, I had the privilege of spending 3 days with more than 150 coaches and a full team of USA Hockey staff. This wasn't a fringe gathering of goalie nerds tucked away in a meeting room. USA Hockey presidents and past presidents were there too, supporting the position and the people leading it. So how's that not politics? Well, because it never felt like politics. It felt like an organization with everybody pulling in the same direction. 51 and 30, well, it's certainly an ambitious vision, but beneath it is something much simpler. Growing the position and improving goaltending from the grassroots up. As parents, we often judge youth hockey by the rink we're standing in today. The symposium reminded me that there's a much bigger picture. There are people dedicating themselves to make tomorrow's hockey experience better than today's. We don't always see that work, but it's happening. The presenters range from names you'll all recognize, of course, NHL, PWHL, and international coaches, to academics and local goalie coaches who had invested countless hours into research projects designed to advance the position. Their gold-level coaching certification presentations covered topics like finding our future goalies, helping smaller goalies play big, goalie retention research, and many more. There was this underlying theme that kept surfacing throughout the weekend as well, whether it was intentional or not, and that's develop athletes first. Teach kids to solve problems. Let them make decisions in dynamic situations. Give them room to explore instead of over-programming every moment. As the speed and skill of shooters continue to rise, the thinking was clear. We need smarter, more adaptable goaltenders, not simply better technicians. But one of the moments that stayed with me the most didn't happen during a presentation at all. I had the chance to spend some time talking with Jeremy Swayman's longtime coach at the University of Maine, Elfie Michaud. We talked about much more than goaltending, of course, and as he described the culture they tried to build and the responsibility coaches have to help shape young people, I caught myself having an unexpected thought. I wish my son could have spent time in a program like that. Not because I thought it would make him a better goalie, but because I thought it would make him an even better young man. As a parent, I don't know that I could pay a coach a higher compliment. Now, culture matters. That same feeling carried throughout the entire weekend. Watching Colin Delia work on the ice, well, that was impressive. Meeting him afterwards left an even bigger impression. We'd never met before, but instantly, he had me talking goaltending as though we were colleagues who'd known each other for years. There wasn't an air of NHL goalie about him. He was just somebody who genuinely loves the position and enjoys talking about it. Katie Burt also left me with the same impression. Outstanding coach on the ice, and despite somehow never having crossed paths before, she wandered over to our booth a couple of different times simply to talk goaltending. No agenda, no rush, just another conversation with someone who clearly loves the position. None of those were isolated moments. They reflected the atmosphere of the entire symposium. Coaches had driven or flown from literally every corner of the United States and indeed the world. Parents had brought their goalies from across the country. Professional goaltenders gave us part of their summer to help coaches become better teachers. Researchers openly shared ideas, and administrators listened. More than anything, though, I felt like I'd become part of something special. There was expertise everywhere. Ego was almost nowhere. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the research surrounding intermediate-sized nets. If you've listened to the InGoal Radio Podcast over the years, you know I've been banging the small net drum since 2019. Like many topics in youth hockey, it's become surprisingly polarizing. Or perhaps it's not surprising. The former graduate researcher in me loved seeing the research, but it wasn't the statistics that truly convinced me. It was the video. Watching side-by-side footage of games played with intermediate-sized nets versus regular, that produced one of those rare moments where you stop taking notes and simply think, well, that settles it. You can immediately see young goalies playing the position the way we teach it, instead of simply trying to survive guarding a 6x4 net. At the same time, shooters were being challenged to create and finish quality scoring chances, instead of simply firing pucks at 24 square feet guarded by a 9-year-old body. Whether you agree with intermediate nets or not, that almost misses the point. What gave me confidence wasn't the conclusion, it was the process. Good people asking hard questions, gathering evidence, challenging assumptions. It's exactly how our sport should evolve. While the coaches were the primary focus of the symposium, there was also a day dedicated to parents and goalies who were invited to observe the sessions, visit the trade show as well. It gave me the opportunity to meet many of you in person, which is always one of the highlights of these events. Thank you so much to everybody who stopped by and said hi. What struck me most was that this wasn't a closed-door meeting of administrators and hand-picked coaches. It was an acknowledgement that moving the position forward takes everyone. Administrators, professional coaches, grassroots instructors, research, parents, and most importantly, the kids who actually put on the pads. That's how meaningful change happens. So thank you to Steve Thompson, to USA Hockey for an outstanding weekend and for including us as a small part of it. Thank you to everyone who stopped by to say hello. We did spend much of the weekend with our heads down covering the event, and if I have one regret, it's not having more time to connect with coaches we've come to know through InGoal over the years, many of whom we've still only met virtually. If we didn't get a chance to catch up, please stay in touch. And finally, to the parents who brought their goalies to Boston, thank you. The role of a goalie parent is often thankless and almost always stressful. But weekends like this remind me that our kids are surrounded by people who care deeply about helping them, not just to become better goaltenders, but better people. We'll stand in the dark corners of rinks this winter still. We'll grumble about ice time, coaching decisions, and the occasional politics. Hockey is hockey. But the symposium left me optimistic, not because hockey is perfect, but because I spent 3 days surrounded by people who are determined to keep making it better.
He recorded that. Otherwise, I would have had him talk about the hot dog.
Yeah, I know. We kind of lost the hot dog. Hey, that's too bad. Hutch, we need you to come back next week in person and verify that I am not lying about the dogs outside of Fenway. People, if you back me up on this one. Tag us on social. Do you have
one or do you have two hot dogs if they're that good?
So they're different inside than outside. This dog is specifically outside Fenway. Mm-hmm. And once you get in, it's not the same. I just couldn't. and plus it's pretty filling. So
Okay.
I just had one. Now, and the other part was, we were very busy at the symposium. So there was not a lot of time to sort of explore Boston. We were basically going all day till the wee hours of the night. The symposium would end and coaches would get together and we would go back to the hotel and start processing video so that we had, the video cards emptied and ready to go and the batteries charged for the next morning. And we basically ate at the same restaurant all 3 nights because it was walking distance and we just needed to get, energy for the next day. Yeah, needed to get fueled up. So we sort of saved all our Boston experience. So rather than coming out of Fenway and having another dog, we went to a nearby place that was recommended by the world of Google Apps and whatever search you do for a clam chowder and a lobster roll. So we did a full, and our day started with us walking to Harvard and around Harvard, and then we walked from Harvard to Fenway, had our dog, watched our ball game, might have had a couple pops. Then we
walked from Harvard to Fenway?
From Harvard to Fenway in
pretty good stroll.
31 degree heat, yes. Kevin may have bought tickets that were, hey, you're only there once. They were great seats, but they were not in the shade on the third base line in 31 degree heat. So I was melting a little bit, but then, we went and we had a lobster roll and a clam chowder. I know it's a little bit stereotypical of us, but it was exceptional. Brown butter lobster roll. Oh my God, Darren. It's still not as good as the dog.
I know. I'm familiar with the lobster rolls on the summer over on Prince Edward Island. So
I bet you are.
Sense Arena feature interview this week. We'll visit with Strauss Mann. Can you spell off the top of your head, not Strauss or Mann, but where he plays?
Well, it's Skellefteå, but it starts with an S and a K, so I know it's a little difficult. Listen, folks, Strauss has been a guest on the podcast before. He was, speaking of USA Hockey and Olympics, he was an Olympian in 2022, coming off his college career at the University of Michigan, had success immediately out of college in Sweden, playing for Skellefteå, and then embarked on his North American career. And this is a story that is not just about, if you recognize the name Strauss Mann or not. This is a story about perseverance, about discovery, about overcoming struggles, about being someone who sets goals, but then the goals change, and sort of finding joy in the game. This is a story about a lot of different parts that I think every goalie will be able to relate to, maybe not at the level that Strauss plays at. But he went back to, originally after some struggles with the North American side of the pro game, went back to Germany for a bit, and then ended up back at Skellefteå last year. We'll be back again this next season. Won a championship, pitched 10 shutouts in just 42 games, set a Swedish League record. And he walks us through a lot of the processes, the ups and downs, the things he went through all those different points, and the lessons learned. That's the important thing. The value that came out of having gone through this. He's doing some mentoring now. We talk about that. His work with Haus Hockey, Haus, a company that he's part of, sort of sounds like on a founder level, where they've got mentorship groups and they get together with people that can share these experiences to help young goalies. He's an incredibly bright young man. I love the way he thinks the game. I say young man, he's 27 already. I'm just really old. So I'm a big fan from our first interview with him, and it was great to catch up with him and sort of hear, I don't say a new perspective, but an expanded perspective on the game, and one that I think is going to be incredible value for goalies and parents to hear, coaches as well. And then I think also that the takeaway, we'll put it in the show notes, but the work he's doing and the sort of new platforms that he's opening up and getting involved with to make sure that he's there as a resource, and other people who have been through these experiences are there as a resource for young goalies. Not so much strictly counseling, but just more of a mentorship thing. I'm excited about the things he started on that end as well. So we're going to hear from him on all of that in this week's feature interview, brought to you by NHL Sense Arena.
And a comment on Sense Arena, what they're able to do right now?
If you haven't already, folks, there's still time to start the hockey life. It's this month's training plans at NHL Sense Arena, bringing together some of hockey's most respected creators, coaches, and experts, each offering a different way to improve your game. You can challenge yourself with Nasher's unpredictable shot selection, Sharpen your reads with Eli Wilson. Build stronger movement habits with Maria Mountain, or improve your game awareness alongside goalie coach Dave Stathos. It's all in NHL Sense Arena, your chance to choose the training plan that fits your goals, step into the virtual crease today, and get better. And of course, the August challenge, you can complete all 7 training plans to experience the full Hockey Life collection, unlock exclusive badge, and earn entries for this month's rewards, including exclusive one-time The Hockey Life badge, 2 free months for one lucky user of NHL Sense Arena, and bonus entries for completing the GAP plans. Make sure you start your first training plan today. Be done by the end of August for your chance to win prizes. Just one more example of the way NHL Sense Arena is constantly growing and expanding the options for you to get better and grow as a goaltender by bringing some of the game's biggest names in training into the virtual reality world on NHL Sense Arena. Constantly evolving, constantly getting better. Kind of like me as an interviewer, but not necessarily as an ad reader.
Skellefteå. Skelleftea. Skellefteå. I wouldn't have got it in 1,000 tries. But here is Strauss Mann on InGoal Radio, the podcast.
Really excited and grateful to welcome back to the InGoal Radio Podcast, Strauss Mann. It's been like 4 years, my friend, since last time we caught up with you. You were coming off an Olympics. You were not that far removed from finishing up your career at the University of Michigan, and you're kind of just embarking on the professional side of things. And here we are 4 years later. It hasn't always been a smooth path, as is often the case if you check just the hockey DB. But you've played in North America for a couple of years, over to Germany, and now for the past year and heading back again in Sweden. There's a little trophy there, which means that last year ended up pretty well. How are you, first off?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Yeah, it's easy to go through the hockey DBs and elite prospects and think you know everything about someone's journey, but that's why I love conversations like this, is you get to understand a little bit of the depths behind what goes on beneath the stats and beneath the different countries that you travel to and play for. And yeah, it's been a crazy 4 years, but a really full 4 years, and learned a lot through that process. And so I'm just excited to be here and chat with you a little bit about that.
Well, it's funny, like you said, you can check the hockey DB and think you have a clue, but those are not easy years. I think we've had goalies at every level talk to us about the jump out of college or junior to pro hockey, regardless of what level you make it to, is the most difficult one in sports. It also tends to be the one where there's often the least support from a professional level. Like, it's ironic, but at a jump that all pro goalies know is one of the hardest is often at levels where there's no goalie coach. There isn't somebody established there to help you out. So walk me through your history. Walk me through how this has all gone and what led you to here and along those different spots of the path.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. I felt like I really only played my first year of that type of pro hockey after we had our first conversation, because I backtracked and played prep school, a year in the USHL, 3 years at Michigan, and then my first year professional, I signed in Sweden in the team I'm actually playing for now. Played my first year there kind of as the backup, but got to play in the Olympics that year. And Europe by no means is pro easy. It's very professional and really high level hockey, but it's just a different system out there. Not as many players in the system. I'd like to think in Sweden, especially in my organization in Skellefteå, which I speak really highly of, like, they treat you really well. And not, when I say well, I don't mean having 3 chefs that cook you breakfast every morning, but just treating you like a human and helping you the development side and really believing in you. And when things aren't going well, not just, sending you down right away or tossing you aside and bringing in the next guy, but at least putting in effort to build the human up, build the player up. And I felt really fortunate to start my pro career there, to kind of, take a half step between the college to maybe the North American pro. And then when I signed with the Sharks and went in there, that was like a dream come true to sign. I signed with the old management, and they were telling me I'd be the number 3 with the opportunity to be the guy called up right away. And I believed I could. I felt like I was ready for that. And then management changes. Next thing you know, they're bringing in. They trade Brent Burns for a goalie prospect who's then above me in the pecking order, and then they sign one more guy. And next thing you know, I'm number 5. And even though I had a really great training camp, I was basically told if you didn't have a good training camp, you would have been sent to the coast right away. But because you played so well, that's the only reason we're going to keep you as the 3rd in the AHL and still get sent down to the East Coast League. And I don't say any of that as a knack on San Jose. It's hard being in management. They have a lot of decisions to make. That's how the system is set up, but it's obviously not easy on the athlete. And that was a time of adversity for me to go from, pitching a shutout in the AHL to getting sent to the coast the next game, and just feeling those feelings of helplessness and at times like victim mentality coming in. And yeah, I think throughout that process was just having to really dig deep and face some deep adversity. And then that season was tough. The next season was very similar. Signed with Laval and a good opportunity to be in the AHL as the number 2 there, number 4 maybe in the organization. And the beginning of the season was tough. It was actually me and Dobesh there, who's now at Dobie's crushing it in the NHL. And we were both struggling at the beginning of the season. The defense was struggling, and next thing you know, they bring in another goalie, and Dobesh starts playing a little bit better. He's their prospect, so I'm the guy looking from the outside and don't play another game from Christmas time on, and getting sent to the coast again, and kind of going through a lot of the similar things as I was in San Jose. So yeah, that was a really, really tough process, which then eventually took me back to Europe, which we can get into a little bit more. But it's not for the lighthearted. It's difficult, and there's a lot of goalies going through that, a lot of players going through that, and there's just so much to learn throughout that process. And the one thing I'll say is that the more you can take from that and not let it affect your self-worth and worth as a player, but just like understand that you're doing something hard and that it won't be like that forever. There's always the next opportunity. But a lot of players give up after that point and kind of lose their love for the game, which truly makes me sad.
Yeah, well, and I've heard that story, right? Like a lot of times, especially like the thing about goaltending too, right? Is that there's only so many spots. And I've witnessed it even with guys established in the American League, signed to be a 3, couple things happen after they sign, promises made, and next thing you know, they're a 5. And they've got a resume that says they should be at a lot higher level than that, but they're just watching games from the press box for it happens a lot more. Advice on how to, like you said, to not lose your self-worth in a decision that sometimes you can't do anything about. I've seen that in pro sports. I've seen it, obviously, with goalies. There's only so many spots. Guys that have, longer resumes in the American League sign being promised a 3, and the next thing you know, there's a trade made or a couple guys come in, and next thing you know, you're a 5, and you've played and you've had success in the American League, and you're watching half a season from the press box, and there's nothing you can do about it. How do you you talked about self-worth, how do you maintain that, in the midst of a really difficult situation that challenges it, that's out of your control?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And like you said, everybody goes through some variation of that in their career, whether you're a first rounder and sent down or benched, or you're undrafted or in juniors and you can't even, play a junior game. I've been, I feel like, in very many parts of that journey myself along the way. But I would say, like, my belief is that sports are a mirror. They're a mirror to who we are as people and to where we're at currently in our journey of self-actualization and reaching our potential in terms of who we are and who we can be. And for me, it's never been about, maintaining self-worth. It's actually like, what is that scenario reflecting within me? And What I mean by that is it's very easy when things are going well and you're succeeding, you're winning, your stats are good, to feel good. Everybody knows what that feels like. And then you get to the lower parts and it's like, okay, then everybody's asking the question, like, why do I feel this way? Or like, how do I feel good again? But actually, I've learned to ask, like, what about me is so attached to something outside of myself? And what about that makes me see myself differently? And it's not to say that competition and comparison are bad, because they're actually really great ways of understanding where we are in our process as athletes or as people. Like, if someone is doing better than us that year, if you have a goalie partner that's playing better than you, like, that's great information to understand and to level up, to understand what you need to do better. It's part of the process. But to actually make it hit you so deep that you start to see yourself differently as a person, that's where maybe question marks can be raised. And it's not to say that that's bad either, because that's a part of our process of growing. Like, all of us goalies especially have been through that feeling. But there's a question there, a question as to why. And if you can really sit with that question, journal on it, breathe through it, and like go to the depths of it, instead of just saying, I don't want to feel that, and pushing it aside and either quitting or blaming someone else or shutting down. If you can really look at it and be with it, then you can learn something really great from it. And that's going to help you down the line in your next opportunity that is absolutely bound to happen. Even when it feels like things are never going to get better, there's always the next opportunity if you can move on and take something from those tough times.
That process of sitting in it and reflecting on it that way, like, how did that manifest itself for you? Like, did you come close to quitting?
Yeah, I did. And I think one of my coaches used to say it's actually a good thing when you start thinking about giving up the game and what life outside of that looks like, because it means that you're coming closer into connection with why you played the game in the first place. And for me, that was really when I went to Germany the year after Laval, going back to Europe. It was a really quick off season, ending later in North America, leaving, August 1st for Europe. Had to make some quick decisions. I was like, okay, this is the best opportunity I have. Let's go with it, make the most of it. And I get there and I start to feel this feeling of like, whoa, I have played my entire career to get to the next place. When I was in high school, it was to get to juniors. When it was juniors, it was to get to college. When it was college, it was to get to the NHL. And then I was back in a league where I didn't really feel like I was that close anymore. And it almost felt like I had taken a step back. The money was still good and something to be happy about. And competition was still like solid. But it just felt like, whoa, like I'm not a year away from getting to my goal, or even 2. And I don't really know if it's possible. And that was scary to me. And it really made me think about, okay, like, why do I play the game? It can't, if I'm going to continue to play the game, like for years to come, it can't be about just the next thing anymore. It's got to be for something else. Like, do I want to make this my career for the next 10 years, let's say, and do I love it for hockey itself, to play the game itself, and is that what I want to do for my job? Or has it always just been something that has been a means to growth and the next thing? And I really sat in that for, I'd say, pretty much the whole season in Germany, like just sitting in that question, not really knowing the answer. And after that season, went home. We didn't make the playoffs, so went home like March 12th, something crazy early. Ended up having a 6-month off season, and this was a year ago now. And that was really the time where I just sat with all those thoughts and feelings and all those difficulties and challenges that I had gone through, and just tried to get outside of the game, distance myself. And yeah, there's a lot there in that off season, but all is to say, like, in terms of sitting with those emotions, some of the most impactful moments in that off season were meditation circles, being in community with groups of people that were there to support you, whether men's groups or Yeah, meditation, or also doing body work, getting a lot of massage done. I actually went to massage school for like 300 plus hours that off season, and just like learned a lot about the human body and what healing means, but also was around a lot of other people that are committed to the healing of others. And throughout that process, there's so much amazing conversation that helped me as a person, as an athlete, but it all really pointed to the same direction of creating more stillness in your life and really quieting the noise around. All of our senses are outwards, right? Our eyes, our ears, our hands, we're all externally focused, but the more we can bring that inwards, the more we can sit with things that are happening under the surface. And for me, that's always been the answer to taking a leap in the right direction that feels aligned with myself.
And through this, I'm assuming, because you did go back and back to Sweden instead, but kept playing, find your answer about why you play within that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, because I play because I love the game, and that's what brought me to it as a child. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning, wake my parents up to go to practice before school. Like that excitement from a child, like that has always been within me. And then along the way, we have parts of the sport that suck something out of us, whether it's the business side or a certain coach or, a dream that never got met that just hurts something deep within you. And we start to build up this tension and this like plaque that comes from the game and the experience. But beneath that all, for me and my experience, and I believe for most people, for what brought them to the game, is that love, is that enjoyment of playing it. And really at the end of that off season, that was the most in contact with that I had ever been, that love, that pure love. And it felt like I didn't have a contract until the first week of the European season. Like I flew out. The team's goalie got hurt. They called me. It was all like divine timing, and just kind of like hopped on that train and went out there and played in the first game like a week later. But it was really right before I got that call. I don't believe it was a coincidence that I started to feel just so excited to play again, and not for a contract, not to show anyone anything, but just like, I want to go play with like my teammates and in front of a crowd, and like these things that little me would have been just so excited to do. And that was the energy that I carried into last season. And it was unlike anything I'd ever felt.
And that was back to Skellefteå, which for those that don't know, whereabouts in Sweden is that?
Yeah, it's very far north. It's like couple hours below the Arctic Circle, and like 10 hours north of Stockholm, something like that.
So you got short days there in the winter.
Short days in the winter, yeah. A lot of time to go inwards, that's for sure.
I was gonna say. So you got like, and probably a place where, despite you've been there before, you talked about how well they treat you as people, not just as athletes. So there's that positive, but probably a place. Pardon the pun, but there's a lot of dark there, and probably a place you don't want to go if you didn't have this mindset. Like if this had been the year before and you still are sitting in that question and you don't really know why you're playing, probably a pretty tough place to go.
100%. Yeah, people ask me about that all the time, obviously the darkness, and I always say like you can't run from it. You have to go into it and sit with those thoughts and not just try to distract yourself all day with video games or the next TV show. But if you really like spend the time of those months to go inwards and just like let things be a little bit calmer and notice what comes up, you learn a lot from yourself. I mean, people like they've talked about Aaron Rodgers doing his darkness retreat before he decided that he wanted to play. I think it was for the Jets at that time. Like, that's a spiritual practice. Going into darkness, it means going inwards. And so I've actually found that to be like, of course, extremely difficult, but something that has deepened this practice that we're talking about.
So what was last year like? I see it, like you said, I joke about the hockey DB, and you've got a few of them that end with trophies. but last year was one of them. So you go from not knowing why you play to sort of finding that joy again, to a last second contract back to a place you know. What was the year like? I can see what the numbers say. You tell me what you tell me what it was like personally, and to sort of find that joy and go right back on the ice again.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, the first half of the season, like I already spoke to this, but came in with this newfound energy and just like presence and enjoyment with no expectations. The thing that everybody's always like wanting to get to, where you're just so unattached from the outcome, playing freely, but we're all a little bit too afraid to like jump into that place because we want to control it and grip it so hard. Like I had just gotten to that point because I felt like I had nothing to lose, and I didn't have anything to lose. I was ready to retire. Like I didn't really care. But I cared about my craft, and I still like took it seriously, but was just like, all right, let's go do this thing. And then, we're 23 games into the year, and I had tied the SHL shutout record, like in half a season. Maybe it was like 27 games in or something. And I don't say that as like this look at me thing, but it was just like confirmation that is the way. Like the thing that everybody's talking about, like surrender the outcome, trust the process, be present, enjoy, have fun. Like we all kind of believe it, but we're too scared to go there. And I experienced it. And now there's like, for me, there's no going back, because I just know what that feels like. And I know when I'm there, and I know when I'm not in that place. I know when I'm gripping too hard. I know when I'm in the old version of myself that's really like getting way too in the future, anxious about the next contract, or what my coach thought about that goal against, or all that stuff. That I get it, but it doesn't really contribute to you playing the sport at the highest level. And that happened last year. It happened more consistently than it ever happened for me.
Okay, so you're confident you can get back. Do you have a process for getting back there?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Because it's the technical side of me, right? Like there's a process for getting from A to B set and square and all these things. So like here we are letting go and talking about that. But my first question is like, do you know how to get back there? Is there, and also, so maybe share that with us if you're comfortable. And then there's other probably people listening to this saying like, I've been there, or I'm in this right now. How do I get to that place?
Such a great question. I would say there's a process, but it's not repetitive, because each time it's a new, like each moment, what are you trying to do? You're trying to ride that wave of the present moment, get into that flow. We're always talking about flow state, but each moment is different. So if you take the last time that you got into that place, say, okay, I just got to do this again. Then you're trying to control something and you're gripping so hard. And that's why it's so hard for people. That's why it's like, how do I get into that flow? I know what it feels like when I feel confident and good and everything's going well. Everybody sees the goalie from the outside. It's like, that guy's standing on their head right now. Like, it's so easy to see, it's easy to feel, but nobody knows how to get back there. And I do feel like I know how to get back there now, because I know what that is. And it is as humans, like our spiritual side. It is the connection with something greater. That's why it feels like, when every goalie knows this feeling, you make a huge glove save, and then afterwards you're like, how did that happen? Like it's not us. It's not our brains. It's our bodies being connected to that wave of the moment, that present moment. And this is like, you can get very deep into the universe and spirituality and quantum physics and all that stuff. And I've gone down that rabbit hole, and there's a lot there. But all is to say is, like, it's not our minds. It's not our thinking brains that do all that. And so it's about getting in contact with that part of ourselves that is deeper than that. And for me, that's been found through meditation. And now I know what that feels like in a still practice. So I know when I'm there, I know when I'm not. And when I'm not, it's not like it used to be, where I'm like, oh, I just wish I could like be more confident or be more in flow, and like, what's going on? Like I understand the parts of me that are getting in the way of me accessing that. And I have practices that like meditation, breath work, different things that I know if I allow myself enough time to sit there, it doesn't mean it will happen right away if I do a 10-minute headspace meditation, but if I really give myself enough time, like I will get back there very quickly.
Okay, is that something you do heading into a game, like just like as part of? Does it become part of your game day? Like, again, as much as you don't want to chase too much structure and put too much structure around it, it's just as simple as, like you said, giving yourself time to meditate on a game day.
100%, yeah. So it felt like in the past, like I had meditated and done breath work and visualization in the past, but it felt like, okay, like I'm going to do 10 minutes when I get to the rink so that I'm in the right mindset. Yeah. And then I'm going to go into my hour-long foam rolling and hip stretch routine, which I don't really know if that's actually doing much, but it makes me feel like I'm controlling something. And you tried to structure it too much. Yeah, I tried to structure it, and it was almost like I'm convincing myself that I'm ready versus actually being ready. And there's something to that. Like routine can get you in a good flow, but once I started to realize how I could get into that flow without needing to convince myself I was in it or create like the perfect parameters for it, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna start to like make my, like 80% of my pregame routine the meditation part, because I know when I'm in that flow, like my left hip could be detached from my body and I'd still probably be a good goalie. We all know what it feels like. Like when you're in that place, you can be sick, you can be injured. It doesn't matter. Like you play well. And so I'm like, I would rather, let's say I have an hour when I get to the rink to really like do what I need to do. Like I would rather take almost all that time to get into a good place. And then when I feel like I'm in that flow, I'm in that pocket, I feel calm, clear, seeing the room around me in a really clear way, then I'm going to go, okay, like I want to get my hips moving. And I find that when I'm in that place, my body actually starts to loosen up so much on its own. And there's so much less tension that I don't need to warm up as much. So yeah, like I create a lot more time for that in my pregame routine now, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it now.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what becoming a pro really means, is you learn to be more efficient in your process. You know what you need to do, you know what you don't need to do. And it's why like we all rookies love watching those veterans when you come into a rink and they just sip on their coffee and then head out there for warm-ups, and part of you is like, how do they do that? The other part's like, oh, like they don't care about themselves, but they don't overstress. They know what they need to do. And that guy's played for like 15 years. Like there's something there,
We talk about, finding a way to stay in the moment and be in the moment. We talk about all these different things. There's mental tools and techniques to help us get there, but being able to sort of let go of all the external stuff. And that's the position, right? Like we're trying to take in all this information when we're out there. Like it's hectic. But to let go of all the other stuff that's not that's not easy to do. And I guess the key would be everybody's process to get there and discovery of what it takes, the journey to that discovery is different.
So true. Everybody's journey is different. And if I hadn't learned this one thing as a 15-year-old from my coach, like the thing that I learned now would feel completely different or hit in a completely different way. So everybody's journey is going to be different. Mine has taken me to this place, and I'm grateful for it, and I feel like I've learned a lot from it, but everybody has to experience the thing themselves to fully believe in it too. Like I don't expect anybody listening to this podcast to just like say, I know exactly what he's saying. I'm going to do all this meditation and really in my like deep within my core believe that it's going to work. I think a lot of people that listen to me talking about what it feels like to make a glove save know what that feels like, and now there's a curiosity there about, okay, maybe there is something deeper that I need to tap into. And I would just say, if that's anyone listening, like go follow that curiosity wherever you can find it, because there's a lot there.
You come home, you do camps, you're training in the summer, you're talking to other goalies. Has this conversation resonated with other goalies?
Yeah, 100%. We have a mentorship coaching platform called Haus that me and some other current and ex hockey players have started, and we have circle calls going on. I do a little bit of one-on-one coaching, especially with goalies.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah, but we every Sunday we have calls at 2 p.m. Eastern for high schoolers, and have a college group too at a different time. We actually have a pro group now, and just spaces for athletes to come together and talk about this stuff and be supported by each other. And we do a lot of mindfulness and meditation as well, and help people with this side of the game that we truly believe is not talked about enough because it's not understood enough. Like, nobody really knows how to help you get into the flow state. And we feel like we can give you those tools to do it, and that is the most important thing in your process, but also in your life. So yeah, we're doing that very consistently. We've been doing it all year, and growing that group. It's been incredible, and really gives me a lot more purpose in my daily process as a goalie, because now it's not only about me, it's about what can I learn to share with other athletes and younger athletes. And yeah, that's been really cool. And I think the goalies always appreciate it a little bit more because, as you know, and as everyone listening to this podcast knows, like, we're in a position that's very difficult. It's very demanding, but it forces us to go inwards. It forces us to ask these questions. And because the margin of error is so small, we're always looking for those next things to kind of give us that edge. So I find that goalies definitely gravitate towards this because we all relate to that feeling of flow state and how much that impacts our game and our life and our confidence and everything.
No, you mentioned Haus, and I believe it's HAUS, just because the only reason I know that, actually, because I didn't know you're doing this, was the your login had that originally. So HAUS for those that are looking. I'll make sure I get a link off Strauss, and we'll put it in the show notes with this episode as well. Like, do you get some that are a little resistant at times to some of the steps? Like, especially now in hot, like, quite often it'll be like, it's not the kid always. It'll be the parent. You got to do this. You got to do that. And do you get kids that come in that are maybe like a little skeptical of some of the, people hear meditation and they can think it's a little touchy-feely and stuff. And like, have you encountered that at all?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said earlier, like, we don't expect anybody to take our word for anything. What we do is not preaching anything. It's allowing each athlete to build their own practice of understanding what meditation means to them, and just creating space for them to go inward, sit with their thoughts. And then we welcome challenging thoughts. We were on the call yesterday and we were saying this. It's like, if you disagree with anything we say, like, we're not a coach here saying like, this is the way. It's like, tell us what resonates, what doesn't, and maybe we can help guide you closer towards where you're trying to go. But that's the beauty of it. And at the end of the day, it is just a space where we support athletes, and all different athletes are going through different things. Like, one of our kids was coming off of a tryout that he got injured at and was going through some of the adversity of feeling like it was his last option to make a junior team, and he gets hurt and he's like, I can't perform to my highest ability. And another kid's, in their summer training, getting ready for a big season, and each of them are learning things from each other. So it's just a really cool community that we're proud of. And you mentioned the parents too. We're actually like starting to work with a lot of parents and have a parent circle where we have someone, Thomas Gobet, a former player, played in the Q, who's all of us have gone through a very similar life journey, and that's why we met and are passionate about this stuff. But he's been really passionate about working with parents and helping them understand how to help their kids and how to channel that care and that love for them in a healthy way that allows them to flourish and feel safe and empowered and like they're leading their journey. Because there's just a lot of stuff going on these days, and I think that's something that's not talked about enough. It's just like, it's beautiful that parents care that much to yell in the stands and to like come after their kid. Maybe if they didn't play a good game, we're all pointing the finger like, oh, that's not good parenting, and maybe it's not, but there's a lot of care in there, and just not enough people have the tools to know how to channel that. Right. Is our belief.
Right. Let it manifest in a different way. letting go of results, like, being able to let go of, I think you used the word victim mentality at one point there in this conversation when you were, in San Jose, and you're next thing you know, you're in the ECHL. Easier said than done sometimes, especially for young kids too. Like right now, there's so much pressure. Like you said, like the game's changed. Like your 3 years at Michigan, hard to do now, right? Like getting 3 years in one spot. There's portals and there's transfers and that pressure trickles down to junior as well. The ability to sort of like the kid in the tryout, to let go of the circumstances around you and sit in that moment. Outside of meditation is obviously a part of it. Is there any other advice, like just like sort of stressing the importance of not getting caught up in something that feels like it's the most important thing in your world, because it won't let you actually perform how you need to perform? It does no good to think about it or to dwell on it.
Yeah.
It's a hard one because it's easy to say and hard to do. And I guess that's the question. How do we do it? Like meditation is a tool towards that, but how important is it to do that, to get to a place where you just find the joy in playing and not stress on the fact that, oh, this circumstance led to me not playing, as that kid said, at my best in a key moment?
Yeah, it's another great question. My goal of this conversation is not to say that meditation is the solution to everything. I'll start with that.
But for you, it's been a big one.
It's been a big one. And the thing that it's pointed to is that there is something beneath all those controlling aspects of ourselves, the latching onto results, the self-worth tied up in results, our identity being a hockey player. There's something deeper within each of us that we can connect to through meditation, and we can connect to in other ways. Religion, we can connect to through community, and sometimes we can connect to deeper from quitting hockey and going exploring life in a different way. But I think each of us somewhere deep within us know that hockey is not everything. And the jerseys that we wear on the outside are just a game. Like it is amazing. It is a beautiful sport. We love it. It can be a big part of our life's experience. But at the end of the day, whether you win or lose, like tomorrow's going to happen anyways, and it won't matter. And yet there's this part of us that latches onto it because it makes us feel a certain way. It gives us an adrenaline rush. It makes us feel like we can be seen, appreciated, feel like we're enough. And that's great. And like, that's cool that we have a game to play that can give us those feelings. But when we get lost in that illusion that it is who we are, that's the difference. And I think whenever we get too wrapped up in the results of our process, like we start to drift into, I am not going to be okay, or I am not going to be enough, or something within me is lacking if this doesn't go how it goes. And that's when I say that sports is a mirror, because that is pointing towards something within you that is not complete and not whole. It's not the game. The game is artificial. Humans made it. It's not us. And the more you can get in contact with that deeper part of yourself that already knows that, that's when you don't need to be like, oh, I don't care about that result. Or like, you just know. You're like, eh. And I wrote about this on Instagram, like one of my first games last season. It was the first time I really feel like I felt that. I had a shutout. And then the next game, I let up 5 goals in the first period. 5 goals in the first period. And in the past, I would have been freaking out. I got pulled, obviously, and like would have slammed my stick and been thinking about my stats are gone for the year. I'm never going to be able to get those back up and all that. And then, but it was the first time where I was just like, like, I still tried my best. Like, I was still really focused. A couple went posting in when last game they went posting out. And I just felt that. Like I felt the difference of where in the past I would have made stories about what I didn't prepare the right way, or maybe this means I'm not a good goalie, or and then ironically, like for the first time, I had trusted that and just been like, I'm not gonna freak out about this. I'm not gonna try to prove myself next game. Everybody's like, all right, like have a bounce back game. I'm like, I'm just gonna do the exact same thing and see what happens. And I had a shutout the next game. And of course, everybody's like, oh, bounce back, mentally tough, like all this, like, and I'm just like, no, like I just didn't care. Like I didn't care when I let in 5 goals because I knew it was that happened, and there's not much I could do about it. But all is to say, like the less we can fight that, but just find that part of ourselves that just doesn't really need that to feel a certain way about ourselves. That's for me always been the place I want to live from game to game.
That is so well said. Difficult question and an incredible answer. There are other things I want to ask you about. Technically, like you've gotten all these voices, you're playing in different leagues, different parts of the world, the influences on goaltending. But honestly, that answer, I don't want to, we have to end there. It was chef's kiss. It was perfect. Strauss, we're just going to leave this for part 3. The journey, the coaching, the technical, the support at the different levels, and all the different things you've been through all over the world. But let's leave this one on that advice because it was so well said. Thank you. Thank you for being so open to sharing what you've been through over the past 4 years, and not always an easy road, and coming out on the other side. And last month, like, what's your last? I will ask one more question because that's what I do. You win a title. What's that moment like when you guys finished that season last year?
Yeah, just the cherry on top. Like I've truly felt in that moment, like I didn't need that to happen. Like I let go of the, I will feel a certain way about myself when that happens. But it was when there isn't that attachment and you don't need it, it really allowed me to just soak in the beauty of the moment and just like sharing that with my teammates, sharing that with the city and the town. And it was just an amazing thing with a team that worked really hard all year and really cared about each other. And it felt really good. And it felt good too to move on pretty quickly and just like continue my process of growth and not always be in the past with that. And so moving into this year, I'm just excited to create something hopefully similar. But
well, I had to ask, even though I know you don't want to be thinking about the past, you're in the moment, in the present, but I had to ask because those are the fun things.
Yeah, 100%. But it was incredible, and yeah, it was an incredible moment. Yeah.
Awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much again. Like I said, we'll have information on Haus Hockey in the show notes for anybody that wants more. Strauss, thanks for doing this with us. Thanks for letting more of the hockey world know about what you're doing. And I'm so glad that you came back to the game and found that joy in it so that we can get to have more conversations like this.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for holding this space and just loving goaltending, because I love goaltending so much too. And it's such a great place to have these conversations. And you've created something really special. So thanks for having me a part of it.
Well, we're on. I don't know what to say to that. Well, we're honored that you be a part of it, and that there's a lot of us that love the position, and love talking about it. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Perseverance, certainly a big part of his journey, but I love just his new endeavor that he's got going.
Yeah, no, and I think it's one that's going to be quite valuable. I mean, there's mentorship out there for sure. I love the idea that he's doing it in a group environment, right? Like the chance to bounce things off, and so listen, like we've said, no apologies for being a fan. We're allowed to do that in this realm. I'm not allowed to be a fan of certain teams, but I'm definitely a fan of certain people and certain goalies, and Strauss Mann is high on that list. Have always sort of appreciated his approach and the cerebral way he goes about sort of thinking about the game, the things he's overcome, even before this point, the success he had at Michigan, battling as an undersized goalie and the stereotypes that come with that, and overcomes these challenges in North American Pro to have just this incredible championship season in Skellefteå in the top league in Sweden. And I'm looking forward to sort of following along and see where this goes next for him. He seems really happy there. I would be not at all surprised if there's another great season in the works.
Windmill type show today. I mean that in relation to the hot dog that we had going on. Fun stuff. Or enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next time that we all get together with David Hutchison, Kevin Woodley, Darren Millard on InGoal Radio, the podcast.
And the hot dog rating show.